What qualities do you feel a staff member needs to have? Of the qualities you listed, which ones do you feel you haven't been able to uphold?
The first quality that is necessary for a staff member is that they are responsible. Someone who is not responsible is someone that you cannot trust to get things done. If a staff member is given a task by someone, they should be able to get that task done without having to be reminded. In addition, staff members should take responsibility and communicate with other staff members. If a staff member has an idea or a suggestion that may benefit the server, it is essential for them to communicate it to other staff. Otherwise, what good would that idea be? The second quality I believe a staff member needs to have is that they are respectful. A staff member needs to respect others, especially the people and players they are working with. If a staff member is helping out a player and that player doesn't understand what the staff member is telling them or is just messing with them, the staff member needs to be patient with that player instead of becoming frustrated with the situation. A staff member needs to be respectful with other staff members, as they are the people they are working with. Next, the third quality that a staff member needs to have is that they are dedicated. A staff member needs to be enthusiastic and has to have the will to work. What good would a staff member be if they don't enjoy what they do? A staff member would be dedicated to the server and would be online and helping out when they are able to. Lastly, a necessary quality of a staff member is to have good communication skills. Staff need to communicate with one another over issues that are brought up to them. Communication is always key between a player and a staff member. For example, players need to understand why they have been muted or banned. Majority of misunderstandings are due to lack of communication, whether it be between the staff themselves or the staff and players. Overall, a staff member needs to have a good work ethic. Of the qualities listed, I feel that I haven't been able to communicate well recently.
Building off the above question, which qualities do you feel you're most lacking in? How would this hold you back as a staff member?
As I previously stated, I feel like I lack in communication the most, as it's hard for me to articulate my thoughts into words. I sometimes can be a person who is quiet and keeps their thoughts to themselves, which wouldn't be very ideal for a staff member. For example, if I was a staff member and didn't explain the reason for a player's ban well enough to that player would not understand the reason they were banned for and would most likely become frustrated. Therefore, that player would probably either go to another staff member, placing another burden on their hands, and the player loses respect for me. This would hold me back as a staff member, as a lack of communication to other staff members would create misunderstanding and would cause mistakes to be made.
From everything you've learned about this position, players, and our server, tell us how you feel you'd make a contribution.
What I've learned about Dysteria is that there are so many great ideas that the community has suggested, but many of those proposals haven't been seen on the server. I'd like to take those ideas that everyone agrees on and bring them to the server. I would be the voice, the messenger, for players' suggestions. Additionally, I'd make a contribution to the staff team by simply being online and helping players. I've done /staff so many times to see that there is no staff online. When there's no staff online, that means players who are in need of help from a staff member or in need of administrative assistance aren't able to get the help that they need. Personally, I really enjoy helping out other players, whether it would be an issue claiming a rank or someone who is trying to raid but their cannon wasn't working.
What are some of the lessons you've learned over your time as a player on Dysteria? How have these molded you into someone who you feel is now ready for a staff position on our network?
Over time, a big lesson I've learned is to not jump to conclusions. Previously I had a habit of seeing a new player and immediately judging them, determining whether or not they were going to become a well-known player or if I should just ignore them. I also used to assume if someone was hacking while in PvP or in other situations. If someone was swinging at me from a long distance and I wasn't able to hit them back, I instantly presumed that they had some sort of reach hack when they simply could have been W-tapping. If a player was able to see me while I was invisible, I assumed they had a tracer hack when really they probably just saw my particles from the invisibility potion. I learned this lesson when a player who seemed closed-minded and firm eventually turned out to be extremely friendly and optimistic when I got to know them and understand them better. This player eventually became one of the players on Dysteria that I trust and talk to the most. By learning not to jump to conclusions, I've been talking to players and getting to know them more, rather than just avoiding them. I feel that it has shaped me into a friendlier person in general and not so tunnel-visioned on someone's first impression. A Dysteria staff member should be ready to meet and work with everyone, no matter how they are.
Do you have any previous experience staffing on other servers? If any, what were some of the mistakes you made? What have you already learned about what it means to be a staff member?
I have absolutely no experience staffing on other servers. However, I used to be a drill instructor in the Overwatch division of a gaming organization that was based on the United States military structure. I would orientate new recruits to the division and help them out and answer their questions until they became a full member. In the division, a drill instructor was the person you could always look to for help. In addition, I helped my friends test out new plugins and build on their server more towards the beginning of the year. When it comes to Dysteria, I have already learned that a staff member is a person that players look up to. If a staff member is respected, players would see them as a role model and would help out around the server, even though they aren't a staff member.
What issues and problems do you see with Dysteria that bother you, and what steps would you take to remedy them, given the opportunity?
Specifically, there are a few issues I see with Dysteria at the moment: suicide encouragement, the lack of censoring for some words, and the priority of a realm reset, especially for Catan. First of all, Catan's map is over 100 days old and barely anyone plays the realm competitively. Many of the main Catan players have been requesting a reset lately, and as a Catan player myself, I believe the realm deserves a reset. Many of the top factions have been quitting, and I personally have nothing to do on there except to grind blazes. If I were to decide when Catan, or any realm, was going to reset, I would either have a set rotation or date when the map would reset, or I would post a poll in forums. The poll would gather the community's opinions on whether if they would want a reset or not. If the community wanted a reset, why not give them a reset? Second, there are rude and ignorant players in chat that purposely start fights and slash or are aggressive just for the fun of it. Many of these players use derogatory statements and sensitive topic as jokes. For example, there are players who say suicidal encouragements as a joke, then they get muted, and then complain to staff that it was only a joke. Therefore, I would change the first punishment for a suicidal encouragement to a 24-hour mute instead of a 4-hour mute. Lastly, there are derogatory terms that aren't auto-censored. Players are able to use the term CNT, SLT, and WH*re without it being censored out. Although such words may lead to a mute, I would add them to the list of words that are auto-censored.
What motivates you to want to become a staff member? Be as specific as possible.
Dysteria is really the only reason why I play Minecraft and continue playing the game. Stopped playing other Minecraft servers at the end of 2015, as I love the community and the server itself. I want to be a part of the staff team, which is full of role models and people I aspire to be like. Personally, I look up to staff, such as Eskid and Omega, and think, wow, I want to be like them someday. They are epitomes, or perfect examples, to me, and I would like to be a role model to other players as well. Simply being helpful to other players, and people in general, makes me feel happy and satisfied. It's almost the best feeling in the world to me. I would like to be a part of something more and not just a player.
Is there any other information about yourself that you feel is relevant? If so, feel free to list it here.
If I didn't make it clear before, I really enjoy playing and helping out where I can on Dysteria. Although I may not be accepted for a staff position, I will still continue to help other players as a player myself.